A warm welcome to today's video explaining the teleological arguments that you need to know for philosophy A-level. In today's video I will break down the arguments themselves. In the following video I will address the criticisms. Now the first argument that you need to understand is David Hume's argument, and David Hume uses an analogy. He uses the analogy of a complex machine. I've used an example of an engine. So for Hume, complex working parts, the observation of complex working parts, is enough to infer that there was a designer responsible for that thing. So when we look at the engine, we see the various cylinders and pistons, the spark plug and the exhaust, and we look at all these things and we think naturally that had a designer. There were people, humans, intelligent minds, responsible for the creation of the engine. Because the opposite seems bizarre. To say that the engine just was always there or fell into place over time, it seems ludicrous. And so we see complex parts and we assume, we infer, we induct that a creator was responsible. Now what Hume argues is that simple effects have simple causes, and complex effects have complex causes. So when we look at the engine, that's quite a complex thing, and so the thing which caused the engine must also be quite complex. And Hume is right, because the human, I would argue, is quite complex. When we look at the universe, the scale of complexity obviously increases massively, and so too should the intelligent mind which caused it. We know that an intelligent mind caused the universe to exist because the universe is complex, and complex working parts, the observation of complex working parts, is enough to infer that there was a designer responsible. And because of the complexity of the universe, the complexity of the mind that caused the universe goes up massively. And so from this we can infer that the cause was God, because God is this maximally great, maximally complex, intelligent, all-knowing thing. And that's Hume's argument. So Hume's argument is an analogy using complex working parts, not just one part. Paley's argument is more complex. He not only requires a thing to have complex working parts to infer a designer, but what Paley also needs or wants is for a complex thing, a thing with complex working parts, to also be working toward an end goal or working toward a purpose. So when we look at the watch, famously Paley uses the analogy of finding a watch in a heath, in a forest, or on a hill or something. When we discover the watch, naturally we don't think these pieces just happen to be here. They evolved over time because of the rain and the wind, as we would think with sand or rocks or something. No, the complexity of the watch means that we infer there was a watchmaker responsible for the creation of the watch. So for Paley, we can infer that there was a designer responsible if there's complex working parts working towards an end goal, working to fulfill a purpose. So we look at the human eye. So we don't look at things that were created by humans. We look at things part of the natural world, the human eye, or the single-celled organism, or the moon. You can look at anything. And as you begin to look at the natural world, you realise how complex everything is. And you realise how everything is, for Paley at least, trying to fulfil a purpose. For the eye, the purpose is obvious. It's to see. Some do a better job than others, evidently. And so, because the eye has complex working parts working towards an end goal, the eye had a creator, as do the entirety of the natural world. What caused the natural world was an intelligent mind. He also uses the idea that this must be proportional. So, same as Hume, the intelligent mind that caused the natural world to exist was very complex. He thinks it's God. And that is the idea, that is the argument from Paley. We look at the natural world, we see the complex working parts working towards a teleos, and that's enough to infer that God was the cause. The final argument is from Swinburne. Now, Swinburne's argument is slightly different, where Paley argues from spatial order. And when I say order, what I mean is things like an eye, things in the world which work, which are consistent. What Swinburne is arguing from is he's arguing from temporal regularities. Temporal regularities just mean things in the world which are consistent and have been consistent. So let's go this back a bit. When we hear a song, for example, there are various regularities. Things in the song which are consistent. If there's nothing consistent in the song, it's not a song. So we hear a song, we hear a Dua Lipa song or Hey Jude or something, and we can hear regularity. So in the time signature, in the structure, for example. And pop songs are more regular than other types of songs because generally after one listen of a pop song, you can generally sing the chorus. So there are various regularities, things which are consistent in a pop song. When we hear a pop song, in the same way that Paley and Hume argue, we see this thing which is consistent. That's the difference for Swinburne. It's things which are consistent. And that's enough to infer that there was an intelligent mind behind the creation of a song. Okay, so a song has temporal regularity, and the cause, because of the temporal regularity, was a mind. Swinburne then extends this to the universe. So we look at the universe. We look at things like the law of conservation of energy. Here, that can be demonstrated by a pendulum that moves. We look at the expansion rate of the universe. We look at the consistent rate of gravity on Earth, for example. And what we see is regularities throughout time. Regularities that allow for life to be present on Earth. Science can describe these laws, but it can't tell us why the universe expands at the rate it does. It can tell us the speed at which the universe expands, but it can't tell us why that is the case. And so, because we don't have a scientific explanation for the law of conservation of energy, the way that we can explain it is in terms of persons, in terms of a mind. Because we can't use science, and so the only other option is explaining it in terms of a mind. And what this means is, in the same way that the temporal regularities in a song are caused by an intelligent mind, we scale it up, then the temporal regularities in the universe, they are also caused by a proportional intelligent mind. In other words, God. Swinburne is careful not to use the word God, but what he concludes is an intelligent mind is responsible for why the temporal regularities in the universe are the way they are. I hope this video has been helpful. Please share it with your classmates if it has. Thank you for watching.